Hi there. Welcome to your midweek microdose. If you don't yet know me well, I'm Kayla Cohn. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist and mindset specialist, and I like to share things that I find fun, fascinating, and potentially life-changing that I use with my own clients in small, digestible doses. So today I'm talking about how to manage intrusive thoughts. Who here has intrusive thoughts? Everybody, right? So, it can be really tempting when we have intrusive thoughts that loop and loop and loop to want to, ignore them or push them down or push them away or whatever. But what happens is that when we try to ignore them, that they tend to get louder and persist more. You may have heard the term, what we resist persists. So we don't want to do that. Instead, what we want to do is to acknowledge them. And this can feel a little bit weird to begin with. So I'm not talking about getting all wrapped up in them, but just acknowledge them. So for me, I find that it's helpful if I put my hand on my chest. I don't know why. I just find that it's helpful to put my hand on my chest or both hands on my chest and say, I acknowledge that I am having this thought about, or I'm aware that I'm having this thought about whatever. So I'm aware that I'm having this thought that I'm not going to get this promotion, or I'm aware that I'm having this thought that I've been a terrible parent today, or, whatever that thought is for you. So once you admit to having the thought, the next thing that you want to do is move, get some movement going. So it's so important that we move the emotion associated with the thought through our body so that it doesn't get stuck in there. So the body keeps the score. So every time we have these undesired feelings, and we don't move through them and process them, and we're conditioned not to, from the time that we're children, that it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to have the reaction that we're having or whatever. So we're conditioned to just hold these things inside and not let them go. But it's so important to allow the emotion that's associated with whatever we're experiencing to move through and process through the body. So you've said to yourself, I have an awareness that I have this thought that today was a terrible parent. And then whatever feeling you have, whatever feeling, that comes up in your body, you want to move that through. So that can be, bouncing up and down on your feet. That can be shaking your hands out, shaking your legs up, just shaking your whole entire body out. Just shake, 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 shake until you feel like it's moved all the way through. Breathing deeply, letting it all move through. So that's the first thing. So then the second thing is that then we want to begin to slow down our mind and those thoughts that we're going through. So what you can do then is to again have the awareness that, or say to yourself whatever the intrusive thought was. So I have an awareness that I was a terrible parent, or that I think I was a terrible parent today. In this example, could be whatever, right? You put whatever in there. So then what you want to do is either say this to yourself super slowly, or for people who are really visual, or you can do both. So if you're visual, you can imagine that whatever the thought is that you are saying is moving very slowly across a movie screen in front of you. So you can notice the speed that it has when you first start, and then just begin to slow it down. So then, until all the way until it's like one word at a time. So I was a terrible parent today. And then you can just let it go even slower so that there are several beats between each word. Also, for me, it's helpful to sort of imagine the words almost like they're falling off the screen, and then to make the screen low. So I don't want to be looking up at it in my mind or even looking straight on. I like to have it a little bit lower. It takes the control away. If you can imagine looking at somebody taller, you feel like they're more in charge or they're stronger. But if you can imagine moving them down lower than you, it gives this sense of beginning to take control, beginning to have more power. So a couple other things you can do just to have fun. So as that's moving across the screen, you can also imagine whatever color the words are on that screen, you can imagine changing them to a softer color, watching them gray out or fade out as that slowly goes across the screen. If that's too complex, you can just slow those words across the screen. Another fun thing that you can add to this if you're really, up for having some fun is to change the voice that you hear it in. So I might be saying, I'm afraid I was a terrible parent today. But if I change that to someone to a different voice, some people like to do Donald Duck. I can't do that voice. Some people like to do Donald Duck. Some people like to do Minnie Mouse. So for Minnie Mouse, you might be, I was a terrible parent today, Mickey, or however, that's even a terrible thing. Or, that didn't sound great, but you get it. So then it kind of adds a little bit of humor to it, which also can really begin to break up those old neurons, those old patterns in our brain, and make it kind of funny so that you feel the ridiculousness in things that we're worried about, right? Or these intrusive thoughts. The other voice that we like is that grandma or the great grandma. I can't think of her name from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the one who's like, we should say it. Come on, everybody, right? That grandma. So that is a fun way to be like, I was a terrible parent today, everybody. And that can begin again to break up these connections in your mind. So, so we have acknowledged the thought that acknowledged the spinning thoughts. We have shaken our body, shaken out any emotion around it. We have imagined, the thought on a movie screen and changed it to very, very slow. And then we've changed the voice that it's saying it in. So already those connections in our brain are like, wait a second, what's going on? Already we feel differently about the spinning thoughts that we had. Or the intrusive thoughts that we had. So then the next piece is to settle into some comfort. There's a number of ways to do that. That can be putting on a heavy blanket, a weighted blanket, or a heavy jacket. It can be laying down flat and putting something heavy like a weight, as long as it's comfortable, some sort of a weight or the weighted blanket, on your body or on your belly. You can push against a wall in front of you or do a couple of push-ups the best that you can if that's not your jam. So sometimes just standing and I'm just imagining that you're pushing against a wall. That can really help to regulate things as well. So just to again summarize, we don't want to push these thoughts away. We want to acknowledge that we have these thoughts. We do. It's silly of us to try to pretend that this stuff isn't happening. So instead of, pushing this stuff into a dark corner, we want to shine a light on it so that it's not so scary, so that it doesn't have so much power over us. So first we acknowledge the thought, I'm afraid I'm not worthy. I'm aware that I'm having this thought that I'm not worthy or whatever it is, right? I'm aware that I'm having this thought that I'm super afraid to get up in front of this group today. And then we're shaking, we're having movement to get rid of, to shake out, not even to get rid of, but just to sort of incorporate, right? To allow this thing, this emotion, wherever it's stuck in our body to move on through to wherever it needs to be, move on through. Then we're visualizing it on a screen in whatever funny way. We're slowing down what we are seeing until it's just one word at a time. Like I said, I like to let it kind of fall off the edge of the screen as it goes. And then we're changing the voice if you'd like to do that or change the color of the words. So any little thing that we can do to change the map, the way that we map these things out in our mind will profoundly change the experience that you have of these intrusive thoughts. And then the last thing that we're doing is to feel some weight on our body, right? So push against the wall, snuggle ourselves into a weighted blanket, ask someone to hug us super, super tight, get that weight to reset ourselves into comfort. The more that you do this, the easier it is to go through. So you can move through this very, very quickly to process these kinds of feelings. And then the more you will find that those kinds of thoughts go away. So you're processing these things, you're integrating them, you're shining a light on them so they don't have so much control. And before you know it, you are fully, changing your nervous system so that you can react in a more calm way. You can feel calmer. You recognize these silly things that we say to ourselves much more quickly, and you become the person that you want to be. You react in the way that you want to be. So give this a whirl. Please, if you do this, let me know what you think about it. Let me know the experience, particularly over time. You're welcome to share this with people. I just love, again, it fills me up to hear people's incredible experiences when they put these things into practice. So please do share with me. Please feel free to share this with others and let me know what your experience is like and have a beautiful rest of your day.